everyone. My name is Amanda Mills. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Stony Brook University. Really happy that you've joined us today. We have some very special guests who will be telling you all about experiential education in the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences at Stony Brook. So our first guest is Dr. Kurt Bresch, Advanced Senior Lecturer and the Director of Semester by the Sea program in the Marine Sciences Division. And we'll also be hearing today from Marissa, who's a lecturer in Marine Science Division and teaches summer classes at the Southampton campus, which I'm sure we'll have a lot of interest in. So now I'll pass it over to you, Kurt.
Great. Thanks, Amanda, and welcome everyone. Glad you could join us tonight. So we're here tonight to talk about experiential education within SOMA. So I think the first thing we should do is define what experiential education is. So Amanda, if you could go to the next slide, please. So when we talk about experiential education, this is something you should be considering when you're looking at schools to go to start at next year or the year after that, depending on where you are now in high school. But experiential education is really it's those extra experiences that you're getting outside of the kind of traditional lecture-based classroom. So as you can see in the left column there, we've got several examples of what experiential education is, especially here at Stony Brook within the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences. So I'm not going to read that whole list to you because we're going to hit each one of those during our presentation tonight, but you can take a look at that. And the reason that we're doing this is because this is such an important component of your undergraduate education. And you probably had this in high school too. You've sought out extra experiences. So you're maybe an athlete of some kind, or you're in band, or you're in some student clubs, or you've done some traveling in high school. And those experiences really kind of round you out and make you stronger academically as well. So in the column on the right, we've got a list of kind of why you need to seek out experiential education, or why you should at the college level. And I'm going to go through this in a little bit more detail than the one on the left, because we'll hit that later. But it's really important to do this because as you're sitting in the classroom in a lecture, enthralled by whatever your instructor is telling you, you're probably trying to figure out how to apply some of those concepts. So with experiential learning, you can. You'll find that you're doing these experiences, such as field work or doing an internship or doing research or a job, and you're applying those kind of terms that you learned about or those concepts. So it's a great way to, again, add on to the knowledge that you're getting within the classroom. Also, when you think about going to undergraduate school, you're probably thinking about, okay, what's the next step? Again, you don't need to get there right now. You're in high school, so just focus on going to school, an undergraduate college. But ultimately, you want to graduate with your degree and hopefully ultimately get a job, be employed. So these experiential educational opportunities are critical in building out your resume. GPA, a high GPA is fantastic. That's what we look for when we're admitting students into college. And it's also what's important when you're leaving college, having a really solid GPA. But that doesn't suffice typically for employers. They want to know, what kind of leadership skills do you have? Are you engaged? Have you sought out extra experiences and so on? And so you can really build your resume with these opportunities for experiential learning. Also, as you're doing those experiences, you're meeting new people beyond just your professors. And keep in mind that at nearly any school, you're going to be in some really large classes. And sometimes professors, like I have a class sometimes with 100 students. It's really hard for me to connect with every one of those students. My upper level classes, much smaller, much easier to do. It's a lot of fun. As you're doing these experiential educational opportunities, you're connecting with employers, internship supervisors, your professors sometimes, and you're really networking. You're building that network in your field, and you're learning about other opportunities. So the next one we have here, other opportunities for scholarships, internships, jobs that will then ratchet you up even further. You also get exposed to new ideas. So not just that professor that's telling you those concepts, but other folks who are actively practicing research with those concepts, finding new ideas. You also typically get to know someone. So as I said, sometimes your professor, your internship supervisor, an employer, and those are the folks that you want to write you really strong letters of recommendation. More than just so-and-so is in my class, but so-and-so worked with me for this duration, so-and-so showed the initiative here, they were a great team player. All of these kind of characteristics that future employers are looking for, you can get built into those letters of recommendation if you do these experiences. They also allow you to try out new ideas. A lot of us are kind of little bit generalist, especially at this point in your life. I would hope that a lot of you kind of have some lots and lots of interests, and college will help you refine your interests. So by doing these experiences, you're either confirming that what you thought was really cool and interesting you want to do for the rest of your life, that's it. That's what you want to do. Or you might say, you know what, I tried it. It's really not for me. I want to try something else. So closing doors behind you is really important. And it's hard to do that when you're just sitting in a classroom learning. Getting experiences, you can do that. And then finally, on this list, as we have here, as I've said, employers really want undergraduate experience, not just that strong GPA, but those strong letters of recommendation. They want people who are outside of the classroom doing things, and experiential education will allow you to do that. So the first thing we want to talk about are opportunities for research. So Amanda, next slide, please. So within SOMAS, we have three divisions. We have the Marine Science Division, we've got the Atmospheric Sciences Division, and the Sustainability Studies Division. So we have this a little bit organized by division sometimes. So I'll start off with this slide. This is just a list of some of the many, many opportunities within the Marine Division that undergraduates get involved with in terms of research. So when we talk about research, this means that you actually, as an undergraduate, you go to a professor's research group, their lab. And that typically involves a lot of graduate students. So these are folks who've gotten their undergraduate degree and now they're getting a master's or a PhD. And you'll often work with them. So it's typically not just one professor, it's usually a larger research group. And you're helping them collect real data and ask real scientific questions. You're advancing scientific knowledge. It's really an exciting thing to be a part of as an undergraduate. And if you join in research projects early on, say as maybe a sophomore or so, and if you stick with that lab, often by the time you're like a junior or a senior, you might have enough kind of credit within that lab. That is, they know who you are, they know that you're reliable, you're responsible, you're interested, that you can probably do an honors thesis or an independent study. It also helps you, again, refine your interests, figure out if this is really what you want to do. So again, here on this slide, we just have a list of research opportunities undergrads have done within the Marine Division. And the next two, we're going to be looking at atmospheric research and sustainability research. So just a few examples there. So next slide, please, Amanda. And as you're thinking about research, no matter what division you're in, recognize that not only does it provide all of those things I just mentioned, but also you can earn credit. You can earn academic credit that can help you fulfill the requirements for graduation. So you're not just in there volunteering, although you can do that if you want to, but you can actually earn research credits as well and build these into your schedule. So here's a list of some of the things that we do in the Atmospheric Sciences Division. They have all sorts of really fascinating weather monitoring trucks. You can't go up in a plane like we see in this picture here, but we have some faculty who do that. Bottom left, we've got students up on a ferry. We have several ferries along Long Island that go across Long Island Sound or to Fire Island. So they're often collecting data from the ferries. And we have a lot of facilities here on campus that the atmospheric science folks use as well. Next slide, please. And then Marissa is going to talk a little bit about research within the sustainability division.
Yeah, so our third division in SOMAS is our Sustainability Studies division. And Sustainability Studies is a really interdisciplinary field. So we can have our students that are involved in some marine science like research, some atmospheric research. So we have a few examples here up on the slide. So we've had some students, as you can see, do some shark research and education internships and research experiences. We've had students who have made documentaries about like the push and pull between urbanization and nature. So again, as you can see, not just the sciences, but the humanities aspect as well. We've had students involved in geospatial sciences do mapping projects like mapping the Hudson River, and not just mapping of the river, but mapping and analyzing of the public perceptions around that river as well. And then, of course, we also have students who are working in climate action in the field of climate sciences. Right now, there's actually an ongoing project that's taking place right in the backyard of Stony Brook University in Port Jefferson. So this is a redevelopment, urban renewal, and environmental justice project in the Upper Port. And environmental justice is a really important concept. So again, you can see the really interdisciplinary nature of it, looking at not only the different sciences and the different components of nature, but the people too. So that leads us right into our next slide, Amanda, looking at our project-based courses. So that environmental justice project is actually through a course that is offered here at Stony Brook University. So that's SUS, or Sustainability's SUS 487. And this is just one example of one of our project-based courses. So one thing to kind of keep in mind as we're going through all these different types of opportunities that we're offering you at Stony Brook University is how you're actually hearing about these opportunities. There's a lot of different research opportunities, a lot of different project-based courses. So you can find all these opportunities online on our websites, but we also have a really amazing undergraduate advisor, Nancy Black. She honestly does a little bit of everything, and she shares these opportunities weekly with our students in our Wednesday Waves newsletters. So all of these opportunities, when you're a student at Stony Brook University, are constantly communicated to you, so you know about all the different things that are going on. So many of our courses and all of the different divisions can be a project-based course. Essentially, you're working with your professors, you're working with other students in your class on a research topic, on a question, a scientific question. So we have a really popular eco-toxicology research lab, or otherwise known as the worm lab. And this is a lab where students are actually able to study how worms are interacting with soil that have things like Roundup or different pesticides in it. So looking at those chemical interactions with nature, essentially. And the undergraduate students in some of these courses have actually gone on to publish about the scientific findings from those courses. We also have other courses like Sustainability 401. So in that course, students are able to come up with project ideas and they practice writing grants to generate the funding for those projects. So in the past, students have gotten the funds to design and install butterfly and pollinator gardens here on campus. But these courses aren't just limited to opportunities on campus. There are off-campus opportunities as well. There was a capstone project class, for example, that worked on changing practices around natural shorelines on Long Island, looking at policies on Shelter Island. So there's a lot of different projects, both on and off campus, that you can get involved in just by signing up for one of these courses. So we can go on to our next slide. Pass it back to Kurt.
Great. Thanks, Marissa. So another really interesting opportunity for our atmospheric students is our Seawolf Storm or Not. So this is a course, a weather broadcasting course. That's a collaboration between our Atmospheric Sciences Division and the University's School of Journalism. So with this program, this course, students actually get involved in actually creating and producing weather forecasts that are then shown online primarily. And they talk about whether or not we're going to have a storm. So they do do a lot of weather prediction, and then they relay that to the students. So this is students teaching students about upcoming storms, weather events, things like that, and getting some real practice in being, a weather forecaster on TV or a weather moderator or presenter. The Atmospheric Sciences Division, we're going to talk about clubs a little bit later on, but recognize they've got a really strong club. One of the things that the students do with this group, if you're an atmospheric science student, is often you get a chance to go to conferences. And that's kind of a rare thing as an undergraduate. If you get involved in research, going to a conference typically means that you're going to help present that research and get exposed to a broader network. These are often out-of-state conferences. So it's a fantastic opportunity for our atmospheric sciences students to get involved in this production team and also to go to conferences. Next slide, please. So the next thing we want to talk about, I think Marissa, I think I can speak for both of us on this one. This is kind of the heart of what we do and what we love about our jobs, and that is leading field-based courses. So Marissa and I are both based at the Southampton campus. So when you think about Stony Brook University, the university itself is kind of mid-island up on the North Shore, and the Southampton campus, which is actually where the Marine Sciences Center is right behind me, that's based about an hour southeast, just on the South Fork of Long Island. So we're a small campus, but we do a lot of field courses. And really, this is the heart of our programming at Stony Brook Southampton. And I'll talk more about the Semester by the Sea later on. But we're not the only place that you can do field-based courses. There are a few up at main campus as well that SOMAS offers. So here we have a list of our kind of our larger field-based courses that are intended to get students out into the field. And when we say the field, we don't mean like the field of physics or something like that. We mean getting out into the field slash water slash forest, the environment outside of the classroom. So a few courses here. Long Island Marine Habitats, ichthyology, Marissa and I co-teach those. And the intent there, again, is to get students out with that first course and explore 6 habitats here on Long Island. So places like seagrasses, salt marshes, the beaches, the rocky intertidal, the pelagic zone, which is the offshore zone just south of Long Island. And I always forget one. So Marissa, if you can help me out.
Estuaries.
Estuaries, thanks. We go up into the Peconic. It's always a different one that I forget, but we go up into the Peconic River estuary and explore that as well. So students go out and they collect data. They learn how to use a lot of the equipment that researchers use out in the field. They learn how to analyze that data and look for ecological trends. And they learn about the organisms and the issues that pertain to those environments. So I won't go through all of these, but that's just one of the examples. Ichthyology is fish biology, another one of our popular courses, very field intensive. Experimental marine biology, setup's a little bit similar to Long Island marine habitats, but with a different intent there. Physical oceanography goes out in the boats quite a bit. So they try and get out there a lot in the fall. That means going offshore into the Atlantic Ocean. Same thing with biological oceanography, except they're often in Shinnecock Bay. Coastal cultural experience, I'll talk about that a little bit later with Semester by the Sea, but the intent there is to look at some of the maritime sites that we have here on the east end of Long Island and elsewhere. Long Island Pine Barrens, this is a course that gets students out into the forest to learn about, again, the organisms, the ecology, and the issues that pertain to that habitat right in our backyard. And then finally, oceanography is a course we offer at the main campus in the fall and spring, but we also offer it at Southampton this summer. And Marissa will talk a little bit about that later on. But that's the only opportunity to take that class and have some field experiences. And by that, I mean 2 boat trips, and we have a live plankton lab, which is not the field, but it's a fun kind of lab activity. All right, so again, field-based courses. We're set up really well here on Long Island and in the university to get our undergraduates out into the field and to explore these amazing habitats that we have around us. Now, drilling in a little bit deeper, if we go to the next slide, please, we can talk about our scuba program that SOMAS offers. And while many schools will give you the opportunity to get certified in scuba for credit, very few schools allow you to take additional courses, kind of higher level courses in scuba. So this is appealing to a lot of our students. So the first kind of course in our scuba program, and it's not a program you really kind of sign up for and kind of check all these boxes. You can do any of these kind of independently. But if you're not certified in scuba, you can get certified during our fall or spring semester. So this is MAR 102. It's a certification course. So not only do you get certified, but you also earn college credit getting certified. And then MAR 306, Scientific Diving. This is another course at Southampton. And in this course, you learn some of the techniques, the skills, the hazards involved, and the precautions to avoid those hazards that are associated with scientific diving. So if you want to go into the industry or into graduate school and use scuba as a tool to address some questions or to build some structures, this is a great course for you. It's an upper level course offered in the fall only. And then finally, we've got tropical marine ecology. So this is our 3rd scuba course. I'm going to save that because Marissa is actually going to talk about study abroad programs next. So next slide, please.
So one of the great ways that you can get experience is to study abroad. So you'll get not only college credits for this, but you'll also get to be exposed to new cultures, new places, a global perspective, all while earning those credits towards your degree. Now, not only am I current faculty, but I'm also an alum of Stony Brook's Marine Science program, and I personally participated in the Jamaica Study Abroad program, the Tropical Marine Ecology course with Dr. Joe Warren and Dr. Brad Peterson. And I can confidently say that I look back at that really fondly. It was a highlight for me, and it's often a highlight for many of our students that go through these study abroad programs during their time at Stony Brook University. So these programs can have really profound impacts on our students, and they can usually help carve out their future pathways for their degrees. So one of our programs that we offer is the Ireland program with Dr. Tara Ryder. And that program looks at global environmental history. And they use Ireland as a case study, as a location case study, and they look at the history. But they also start to think about solutions to the problems, not only past problems, but present problems as well. There's also a relatively new winter course, study abroad course that travels to the Bahamas. So this is with Dr. Oliver Shipley, and it's called Marine Protected Areas, and it goes to the Bimini Shark Lab. So this opportunity allows students to explore the Bahamas Shark Sanctuary and get up close and personal with some of their local shark species there. We also have the Tanzania program. So this looks at the intersection of environment and society and health. And this actually presents a really great opportunity for students to work within communities. And you can really get to see how closely that nature and these communities are bound together. You can see the societal benefits, you can see the challenges that these communities have when it comes to their environmental challenges or things like creating natural lands, for example. And then, of course, like we mentioned, that winter tropical marine ecology course that's focused on diving and snorkeling with tropical marine ecology, different organisms, coral reefs. So all of these opportunities give you the ability to communicate across different cultures, gives you adaptability skills, and really allows for you to develop problem solving skills. So all of these different things can be applied during these study abroad opportunities. I also do want to point out here that oftentimes price can be a major hurdle or a major concern for people while looking into study abroad opportunities or different programs. So Stony Brook does offer scholarships that are based both on need and on merit. So there's a lot of opportunities just within Stony Brook to help kind of alleviate some of those financial hurdles to allow for you to still participate in study abroad programs. So we can go on to our next slide. So, along the line of these different experiences, our majors do require either internship credits or research credits. So, these internships allow our students to get a foot in the door with a potential what a job might look like or a day in the life might look like. And these internships can be local, they can be national, they can even be international. And there's, again, a lot of different ways to hear about these internships, like that weekly newsletter, like through your professors and your connections at Stony Brook. But you can also find your own organization or opportunities that you're interested in and excited about for that internship credit. So you are required to do one or the other, so either an internship or one of those research opportunities. But many of our students end up doing multiple internships just to kind of open those doors and, like Kurt mentioned before, even close some of those doors. So this is a great way to create networks. It might lead to future job opportunities if you stay in touch with those networks. And it's also, again, that opportunity to try new things. So we encourage you to check out this pretty exhaustive list of organizations. We have a lot of great connections in the local state organizations. We have students who work with the Long Island Aquarium or the New York Marine Rescue Center. So that organization rescues, rehabilitates, and releases seals and sea turtles. So we have a lot of our marine science students that get internships with the New York Marine Rescue Center or the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, which is another local organization. There are opportunities within planning departments, within the National Weather Service, et cetera, as you can see with this list. So again, internships are a really great way to discover where your passion is really lying. So we can go on to our next slide.
While you're at Stony Brook and a SOMAS student, hopefully, you may want some extra income and to gain some extra experience with some jobs on campus. So as Marissa said, internships are off campus. They're with groups or institutions outside of Stony Brook University. But while you're here, you can often get a lot of good experience, often getting paid as an undergraduate, as an undergraduate teaching assistantship or things like deckhands or working in a research lab. Sorry, I think I did misspeak. Let me correct myself here. You don't get paid to be an undergraduate teaching assistant, but you can earn credit and a lot of great experience. So if you've got an interest in teaching, this is a good opportunity for you. I usually work with an undergraduate teaching assistant with my spring offering of Introduction to Oceanography. So with that example, the student will typically attend every single lecture. They'll meet with other undergraduates outside of class during office hours, and they'll also do kind of a directed exam preparation before each of the four exams. So the student that's doing this, teaching assistant, they're learning how to teach, how to communicate, how to understand information and convey that to their peers. And the students really enjoy it, especially those that want to go on into teaching. Um, the other jobs here are kind of deckhands. We've got deckhand opportunities at the Southampton lab. I think there's some on the Seawolf, which is our larger vessel up by main campus. And then all three of our divisions have opportunities that pay students hourly to work in research labs as well as earning credit. So again, not every lab will have that, but each of our three divisions does have opportunities for that. All right, next slide, please. Um, Actually, we can stay here, but let me just say one more thing about employment. So one more thing about employment is we just put a few jobs up there that you might be interested in within SOMAS, but there's lots of other jobs that you can take on at the university. And that's worth a much broader conversation. But working in the library, lots and lots of ways in which you can actually earn some money, get some other experience. So those were just focusing on SOMAS, of course. All right, the next slide is our Semester by the Sea slide. So this is a program that, again, Marissa and I really love. We're both based at Southampton, and most of the courses that we teach are at Southampton, although each one of us teaches a bit at the main campus, and Marissa does a lot of kind of online courses. But the Semester by the Sea is really that Southampton program. So at that Southampton campus. Now, the Southampton campus is a small campus, and the Semester by the Sea is the only undergraduate program that we have down here. It is designed for SOMAS majors. We used to have this open for other majors and even visiting students from outside of the university, but the program's become so popular that we're restricting enrollment to just SOMAS majors, primarily our marine science and our marine vertebrate biology majors. So if you'd like to participate in this program, you can plan on coming down. Typically, the earliest you can do it is really your junior year, most likely the spring of your junior year, and then your senior year. And by that, I mean the courses, they fill up pretty quickly. So getting involved in courses, you might have to wait for a little bit. Certainly don't think about coming down here as a freshman or a sophomore. Instead, focus on fulfilling your requirements up at the main campus before coming down here. But once you're a junior or senior, you can come down and take courses. Now, before then, you certainly can get involved in research in our three big research labs at Southampton. So Dr. Warren, Dr. Gobler, and Dr. Peterson, they're only three of many SOMAS faculty members, but these three are based at Southampton, and they have just flotillas of graduate students that are doing work for them. And they're supervising lots and lots of undergraduates. So they're great places to work, especially if later on you want to come down and be part of the Semester by the Sea program. So in this slide, you can see a shot of our Marine Science Center. So again, behind me and my background, that's a side shot. There's an aerial shot right there. And we only have one of our kind of larger vessels there, but recognize we do have many vessels down here that take students out into the field. That body of water there is called Old Fort Pond. It connects to Shinnecock Bay, and Shinnecock Bay connects to the Atlantic Ocean and also to Peconic Bay through a canal. So we have direct access to all of these fantastic bodies of water and coastal zones right from our Southampton Marine Sciences Center. Now that white building there, that's our classroom, our classrooms up on the second floor. So we have three large learning spaces there. And the first floor, we actually have a running seawater lab. So lots and lots of research goes on here, especially in the summertime, in the fall, and the late spring. And we have running seawater that goes through that lab. This expands our capabilities. We can ask all sorts of really cool questions and raise organisms right there in that first floor of our Marine Science Center. And we have a lot of undergraduates, again, that get involved in this. All right, so I could talk forever about the Semester by the Sea program. I think Amanda and Marissa both know that. I'm trying to keep this concise. That picture on the right just shows you a lot of the kind of happy students in action out in the field with our Semester by the Sea program. The last thing I do want to say about the Semester by the Sea, though, is that our courses are really designed to be marine science courses, but we also have, as kind of part of the heart of the Semester by the Sea program, some humanities courses. And by that, I mean, we want students to understand the cultural experience in the coastal zone. So one of our popular courses is this Friday course where we go, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, we go to maritime sites on the East End. So for example, the Fire Island Lighthouse, the Montauk Lighthouse and Museum. We go to the Sag Harbor Whaling Museum usually. We'll take the ferry across Long Island Sound and spend a day at the Mystic Seaport. We'll do a kayaking trip and we'll pull the kayaks out. And as the sun goes down, we'll have a lecture around a campfire and we'll have some vegetarian chili that I've made. And I think the students like, and we'll be out in the field in what is very far from the traditional classroom with this Friday course. So it is a popular course for a lot of students, and that's part of our, again, the heart of the semester by the sea, marine science, maritime studies. Okay, next slide, please.
So, one of the important things to think about is that you are coming to college to learn, but you're also having to make friends and socialize. So, there's a social aspect to it as well, encouraging you to get out of the classroom, out of your major, interact with other people, and you can do that through these different student clubs. And there's a lot of different clubs on campus across a lot of different interests, but you can combine your major interests with these student clubs as well. So, again, another great way to create a network, to build relationships with other people. This can be the foundation not only for professional connections for the future, but friendships as well. You can get involved in things like activism, go on field trips, go on boat trips, for example. So some of our clubs are listed here. We've got our Marine Science Club. They'll do things like movie nights or beach cleanups, and you don't need to be a marine science major to be involved in the Marine Science Club. We also have the environmental club here, so just as in the mission statement, so protect, conserve, and improve the environment by taking action. So there's a lot of advocacy work that's involved in these different clubs as well. We have the meteorological club, and they do a lot of really cool stuff. I think arguably one of the coolest clubs on campus. They actually, as Kurt mentioned before, get the opportunity to go to conferences. Again, another really great networking opportunity. We have the Sunrise Climate Justice Club, another advocacy group. We have SWIMS, the Society for Women in Marine Sciences. So SWIMS is a New York chapter of a national organization. And actually, just last year, they hosted their national symposium here at Stony Brook University. It was widely attended, it was really successful, really great opportunity, again, for networking. And we also have all of these other relevant clubs as well, like the Urban Design Club. So, again, all of these opportunities to build on that traditional classroom knowledge with this additional social component involved as well. So, we can head on over to the next slide. And just starting to kind of wrap up our presentation here. So we've been talking about these different experiences that we offer here at Stony Brook University that allow you to graduate in those 4 years with your undergraduate degree, prepared to take on the real world, prepared to go on to graduate school or to go and enter the career fields. And those experiential opportunities that we've been talking about kind of help you refine this and really make you a stronger candidate for that job or for that graduate school opportunity. But you can actually start getting looped into those opportunities and that skill building and networking right now, starting this summer. So we have this QR code here that you can kind of scan that right now if you'd like to. It takes you right to our website with more information about these summer courses. So here at the Southampton campus this summer, we're offering these 3 courses that are open to college students, but they're also open to exemplary high school students like you all on this call right now. So you can start earning those college credits towards your degree starting this summer. So whether you're a junior that's just kind of interested in looking at colleges starting now and you still have an additional year of high school before you go on to college, or you're a senior that's graduating this upcoming spring or summer, you would be eligible to take one of these courses with us. So we have our first course here, which is oceanography taught by Kurt, and this is required for our marine science majors. So even before you start your official college journey, you can start getting those major requirements under your belt. And like mentioned previously, that summer course has those additional boat trips, has that additional lab. So kind of those added perks taking it over the summer compared to the fall or the spring. And we also have these two additional courses that are taught by myself. So we have shark biology and conservation and life in our ocean. Also 2 week long courses also for credits. So we have those field days built in, those boat trips, going out fishing for small local shark species or smooth dogfish, performing trawls, dragging nets to identify different fishes and marine creatures. You'll also have the opportunity to stay in our residence halls at our Southampton campus. We like to say that this is the cheapest housing opportunity that you will ever get in the summer in the Hamptons, so take advantage of it while you can. And you can sign up for 1, 2, or even 3 courses and spend all 6 weeks with us at the Southampton campus. So we really do hope that you'll take advantage of these opportunities this summer. Enrollment opens for these courses in the spring, so stay tuned for that. And I believe that is our last slide. Our last slide is our question slide, so we'll wrap it up here.
Thank you both. That was great. I always feel like I learn something, even though I hear this a lot, and I'm like, oh, I didn't remember that. So I find that really, really good. We have a couple questions that already came in, so we can jump right into those. Feel free, everyone, to use the Q&A to ask any questions that you have for our guests. The first question is, where do you live if you're going to be participating in Semester by the Sea?
Yeah, I can feel that one. So Stony Brook has a lot of commuting students. So as an undergraduate, you don't have to live on campus. There are a lot of experiences that occur on campus. So I would encourage it if you're considering living on campus. But when you do the Semester by the Sea at Southampton, you can either commute in, or Semester by the Sea is there's a lot of ways in which you can participate. So many of our students choose to take all of their courses at Southampton during a semester, and that's what we would encourage also. It just makes it a lot easier. But some students can't do that. They might be an athlete and have to stay up at main campus or involved in band or have other obligations up there. So we have a shuttle that comes from main campus to Southampton before each course. So we can provide transportation, or you can drive yourself down. But if you want, yes, you can live at the Southampton campus. So I said we're the only undergraduate program down here, but we have two other programs that are graduate programs. We have a health sciences program, and we've got a writing program basically down here. So there is other kind of activity on campus, and we have a fantastic residential life team. So we do have residences that you can live in down here. We also have job opportunities. If you want to be an RA, a resident assistant, you get free room with that. I think there's a few other perks as well. Um, but we have students who live down here, and they really enjoy living down here. It's a very small school feel, and it's a lot more intimate, we're told, than up at main campus. The students also form kind of a really tight cohort. So they're living in the residence halls together, and our residence halls down here, they're set up suite style. So this means there are several bedrooms in a suite with a shared kitchen facility. So students are often preparing meals together. A lot of students will go out fishing. They'll bring fish back to the dorms, and they'll cook things for their friends. So they're really interacting pretty tightly in those residence halls. And the residence halls also do a lot of programming down here, whether or not you live on the campus or just commuting in. So there's a lot to do down here. And yes, you can live at Southampton for Semester by the Sea, and we encourage that.
Great. Do the summer courses accept students that aren't from Long Island or New York? What if you're out of state?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So we do accept out-of-state students for our summer courses. We also accept international students. So we're open to, like I mentioned, our high school students. You have to be 16 and have completed high school biology. That's our requirements there. But no matter where you live, you are able to participate in our summer courses, and just make sure you apply for housing on campus.
If you want to live in the housing on campus, you do have to be, I think it's 17. So there is a minimum age for that. But if you're 16 and can commute in, yes, that's great. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I will agree that it's very difficult to be in the Hamptons for 2 weeks or 6 weeks in general. So this is a great opportunity if you can take advantage of it. Another question is kind of following the lines of some of the clubs and coursework, how does the School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences incorporate environmental justice into experiential education or learning? And then as a follow-up, are students able to participate in fieldwork or internships that address inequalities in communities that historically lack access to environmental protections?
I could start that answer, and then Marissa, if you want to add to it. So, um, our sustainability division, we have a lot of courses that directly address that. And as Marissa was talking about, some of these study abroad programs, these are the topics that they're discussing, um, often in an overseas context, but they're kind of the same themes, a lot of environmental justice, resource exploitation, and how that is tightly meshed in with environmental justice issues. We also do have a lot of clubs that involve students in addressing these issues, both locally, regionally, the state, nationally, and internationally as well. Um, I think generally, in my experience, I've been at Stony Brook for about 18 years, and environmental justice is a theme that pops up all over the university and has been there. Stony Brook has a reputation, I think, of really addressing these issues head on, issues like environmental justice. I know that, again, thinking about my own courses, mine are mostly science-based, but I often weave in a lot of environmental justice issues. So, for example, when I talk about hurricanes, we talk about Hurricane Katrina and the environmental justice issues that were associated with that, leading up to that and afterwards as well. So that's kind of my brief answer off the top of my head to that. But I'm going to say yes, lots of opportunities for that.
And I'll kind of tack onto that and say, in terms of fieldwork or internship opportunities, absolutely. There's a lot of different organizations here locally on Long Island that tackle environmental justice issues. But also, as you are connecting with faculty members, connecting with professors, potentially starting to volunteer in different research labs as a freshman and building those relationships in your senior year, and you're starting to ask your own research questions, that could be one of the topics that you bring into your specific research questions and you kind of bring to the table as well.
Thank you very much. Um, Another really good question. At what point during your 4-year undergraduate degree, bachelor's degree program, can you actually get started in hands-on learning or experiential learning? And it just as an addition to that, does it vary by program or major within the overall school?
So I could start that. Or Marissa, do you want to?
Good.
So it'll vary from student to student, but there are opportunities to begin from your very first semester here. So it depends on kind of how you are defining hands-on learning. Marissa's already talked about our summer courses, so you can start hands-on learning even before you actually arrive here as a fully fledged undergraduate at the university with our field opportunities and so on. For the marine science major, we are requiring an oceanography lab, and a lot of students will take that their very first semester. So um, we didn't talk too much about laboratory experiences within the classroom, but those are also another type of hands-on learning and experiential education. And there are opportunities from that from the get-go for the marine science students. The other divisions, again, a lot of this is kind of self-driven by the students. You can certainly get involved, again, if you make the right connections with research faculty from day one here at the university. I was just thinking back to Tessa's questions about the environmental justice. I would recommend at this point, if these are things that you really want to get plugged into and interested in, you reach out to some of the professors that are addressing these questions or dealing with these issues and ask them directly how you can get involved. So when you arrive, boom, you've already made that connection, stop by their office and get plugged in right away.
Okay. Um, let's see. Okay, I think this question is probably referring to tuition. Is there a state reciprocity for the summer program? With some SUNY schools, the State University of New York schools do have a tuition agreement with certain states. Stony Brook does not participate in that. So I'm pretty sure that the summer programs are the same tuition that, for New York or out of state students. I don't think there's a separate agreement for summer programs. Does that
Correct.
sound right to you?
Correct. Yeah. I will say that the oceanography course, there is a scholarship that it's called the Total Immersion Scholarship. And if you follow the link that Marissa had up, you can get pretty quickly to the summer oceanography course. And then you'll find a link to the Total Immersion Scholarship. But it's designed for underrepresented groups to have a full tuition waiver for the oceanography course and to potentially support housing as well. It does vary how many applicants we get each year and what the funding is that particular year because it does fluctuate. But that's one way that perhaps out-of-staters could help address the tuition with that one particular course. Yeah.
Great. Uh, Final question. So if anyone else does have questions, please add them to the Q&A. This question is, are all courses taught entirely by PhDs?
The answer is no. We have a lot of folks who do not have their PhDs. I'll let Marissa can talk about that actually. Sorry, Marissa, I didn't mean to jump in there.
Yeah, so I don't have my PhD, but we do have a pretty wide range of full-time faculty members and associate professors, part-time faculty that our courses are taught by.
Yeah,
I think
and that's throughout the university.
right.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, I'm trying to think of the motivation for that question because it could come from a couple different directions. A lot of parents will often, and a lot of students too, will often think that having all PhDs means a much more rigorous program. And that can be the case sometimes. But it's also important to recognize that often PhDs, especially in the marine science and the sciences, they're often really involved with their research, and their primary motivation is their graduate students in their research program. That doesn't mean that they're not necessarily going to focus on undergraduates too, but that can be this case sometimes. Having a diverse kind of portfolio of instructors means that you're guaranteed to have people whose prime occupation is teaching undergraduates. That's what Marissa does. That's what a lot of our other faculty do. We also have some adjuncts. Some of them have PhDs and some of them don't. So an adjunct professor or an adjunct lecturer is somebody who's not hired full-time by the university, but they're hired specifically to do something like teach a class. So for example, we have one of our great instructors in the Semester by the Sea, Maxine. She's the director of the New York Marine Rescue Center. She doesn't have her PhD, but she's an expert in her field. And I can't think of anybody more knowledgeable about what she does. And she works with a lot of undergraduates for internships. She does seal and turtle releases that involve the public down here. And we are fortunate to have her and Marissa and many of the others that don't have PhDs because we have folks who are devoted to our students at many levels, if that makes sense. That's my answer.
Excellent. Before we go, I'm going to give everyone time to think if they do have any other questions, but we had a few questions just in general. If we have a student who asked if I want to study climate and marine biology, is it possible to tie those fields together in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a newer course that's been added to our curriculum. That's MAR 107, which is Marine Organisms in Changing Oceans. So that's actually a course that you can take as a freshman that really focuses on how our changing climate is affecting our ecosystems, our organisms, and how they're responding to that shifting ocean conditions. And I think climate change is inevitably one of those topics that is interdisciplinary and kind of gets integrated in a lot of our different courses, a lot of our field work, internships, et cetera, as well.
We have a lot of researchers where that is their focus as well. They're looking at how organisms respond to climate change, how systems change with climate change. So there are many opportunities to get involved in research with our professors as well. Climate change is a big issue at Stony Brook, and in particular in SOMAS. So yeah, lots and lots of opportunities.
And And a follow-up question about graduate students and whether they teach undergraduates.
Yes, some of them do. So um, we have teaching assistants. So this is different from the undergraduate kind of tutoring. I like to call the undergraduates the undergraduate tutors, even though technically they're called teaching assistants, because it differentiates them from graduate students who are teaching assistants. So graduate students, many of them in their first year will help teach a course. So, for example, our field or our marine science courses at Southampton, the semester by the sea, most of them will have a teaching assistant or maybe a couple, depending on how many lab sections they have. And their job is to sometimes run the field trips, the laboratory activities, to assist with grading. They're assisting the professor teach the course. Graduate students generally don't teach a course by themselves. There are some exceptions to that over the years when we've had graduate students who want more teaching experience. They're very intentional about it. Sometimes they have taught some of our intro courses and they're fantastic. But yes, graduate students do teach some course. They assist with some courses, I should say.
Great. And um, we do have a lot of students that'll ask, they, are looking at the marine science major and the marine vertebrate biology major, and they're not sure, do they have to decide right away? That's kind of the A part of the question. Do they have to decide between the majors immediately? But also B, what are the significant differences that you can expect as a student in those two programs?
So I think that one of the major differences is just a couple of the core courses that are in the curriculum. So our marine sciences majors, they will be studying things like chemical oceanography, physical oceanography, biological oceanography, where our marine vertebrate biology students, they're going to be focusing more on marine fishes or marine mammals or sea turtles, for example. So some of those courses can look a little bit differently, but there is a lot of overlap between those two majors. You definitely do not need to decide right away. You can explore some of those different avenues, but I would say if you are really set on studying marine mammals, for example, the marine vertebrate biology major would be a better fit compared to the marine sciences major. But I would also say a lot of the skills that you are developing in those courses kind of holds a lot of weight after you're done with your degree, maybe compared to that degree title. And I'm sure Kurt has something to add to that as well.
Not much, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, and I think, a lot of students there, their first year, they're taking those same intro courses. I think
hmm
that's the key part. So if you decide you want to switch, Marissa mentioned Nancy Black, our undergraduate advisor. We recommend every student meet with her, their first semester. So if you are kind of on the fence whether or not to do MAR or MVB, she can sit right down with you, go over the courses, and she can help guide you as well. We have also all of our majors has a major director. So they're also a resource for our students. So we have a lot of people here to help you decide what major actually is a good one for you.
And it's not uncommon in college in general to, be a senior in high school, have one idea about what you want to study. By the end of your senior year, have a slightly different idea. And even by the end of your first year in college, have another idea because you're introduced to all kinds of um, new academic areas that you may not have been exposed to when you were in high school. They just weren't part of the curriculum or weren't available as electives. So you can take advantage of a lot of new subjects as an undergraduate, and your entire degree program is not just the major. You have all of these other opportunities to study additional areas, additional subjects. Any final uh, comments or thoughts before we go tonight for our guests that attended?
just that we hope to see you guys at Stony Brook next fall, and even better, we hope to see you this summer in our one or all of our summer courses. Again, that's a great opportunity to kind of even check out Stony Brook, the Southampton campus. You can meet me and or Marissa, and kind of get a feel for our university and SOMAS's programming.
Well, I
Yeah,
want to
thank
thank
you.
you both for presenting. Sorry, Marissa, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have something?
Nope, just saying the same thing. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, thank you to our presenters. I really appreciate your time. I hope everyone learned a lot, and we'll follow up if you have any additional questions. I put the undergraduate admissions email address in the chat, so you can always contact us if things come up, and we can connect you and get the answers for you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.